Hi guys, ShiggitayMedia here, and for those of you that are into Japanese pop culture, like I am, probably many of you go to conventions 2, 3, 4, 10 times a year, if you can afford it. But speaking of affording, that's what this video is all about. This is a guide inspired by a certain webpage, which a Facebook page, I believe, that I'm going to be screen capturing right here in a moment, that tells you how to afford anime conventions. Now, I know what you guys might be thinking. There's many, many videos telling you how to afford an anime convention. One by the very awesome, very inspiring vlogger, anime con vlogger, Dejavudea, which I'll link her video down there. But she actually produced it really well, in my opinion, going to Walmart or similar huge department store, and she, acted it out and had her friend Sophia help her. It's really well done and really, really funny. But I'm just going to base my video here on that Facebook post. Oh, and by the way, ignore this grilled cheese sandwich. I'm kind of eating breakfast/lunch while making this video. But anyhow, yeah, I'm going to base it on the webpage that I'll even read you the headline, and then we're going to scroll through it together. It says, I don't like this word that they use, because I think it's stupid and misinterpreted, and it's probably used in jest in that video, in that Facebook post, but here goes. Hey broke weeaboo, let's get your money right for your next convention. That's what that post is all about, and I'm going to try and highlight each point, give my own spin on it, and we will go from there. So let's get started. Let me get the screen capture going and I'll be right back. Alright, so here's that webpage I mentioned. It's actually yukithesnowman.com, and he posted it 2 days ago as of today's date, which is November 1st, as of when I'm recording this. And yeah, as I said, it says, hey broke weeaboo, let's get your money right for your next convention. And I briefly looked at this, and I'm going to read it with you guys while we're watching here. But it basically goes through and tells you how to afford everything. There's the first, that was the hotel. I don't know which hotel that is, but that's a pretty sweet looking hotel. Let's see. It tells you how to afford a hotel and all that stuff. And I'm going to read through that. It has the badge. I think this was actually intended for Anime Central or ASEN from last year, but okay, AWA, that's the Anime Weekend Atlanta, so that's one of the hotels in Atlanta. That's probably what this hotel is. All right, interesting. Now, this is of course a fake badge. There's no badge number with 420, but I think that's what they're going for. It's pretty funny. Still about the badge and saving money for it. Then it's going into travel, and of course, given that they're making fun of the word weeaboo or using it as a theme for this post, there is a Japanese Pokemon playing here with Pikachu and Pichu and Mew. Those are the ones I recognized right away here. Maybe Caesar or what's his face is there. I am so out of touch with Pokemon, it's not funny. But anyhow, that's a Pokemon themed plane, I'm guessing in Japan, leaving from Japan, I don't know. And so then that's just a picture there, and then they talk about, or he or she talks about traveling by air, by rail, like train or light rail if you live in a city with a light rail like Boston or Baltimore. By car, if you want to take a road trip. And then finally, public transit. I don't know if they mentioned Uber, but I'm going to when I do each of these categories separately. Yeah, I did mention Uber. Either Uber or public transit like bus or commuter train, or something like that. And I just got an idea for this actual video. All right. Thank you, Mr. Dan Rivera, when you watch this video. All right. Anyway, I should mute that tab so it doesn't bother me. Okay. And then it talks about food, how to afford food during the con. And then final, I think this is the last image. Okay, no, it's not. Okay, then it's the. I remember what episode of Sailor Moon this is from, but it's from the English dub, the original English dub. I know for many of you growing up in the '90s, like myself, that is a very iconic version of Sailor Moon. But my opinion is I don't like it. But anyhow, that's party goods, meaning probably they're talking about hosting a party room in a hotel room and everything, and I'll go through that. But I don't think that's a smart idea. You don't want to get yourselves kicked out of your hotel room because you're way too noisy at 2 or 3 a.m. and people around you may or may not be there for whatever convention it might be. And they even say, disclaimer, I am not hosting a room party for Anime St. Louis. Okay, Anime St. Louis. Okay. 2018, do not come up to me asking if I'm running a room party. That was just an example. Whatever the example is, I'm going to read it out. And, all right. And now, that was party goods. Right. Okay, now this is adding it all up. It could all cost you if you do it based on this guide. And finally, the last topic they cover here is tips on making more money. And it says work extra hours or use PTO or paid time off, which is vacation time if the company you work for, if you have a job, has that available. Sell things online, and this is something you should never do. Don't sell drugs or become a drug dealer or invest in a drug dealer, it says. Yeah, don't do that. Please don't do that. And yeah, invest in a legit business, just things you can do to make money. So that's an overview. Yeah, that's an overview of what this post is talking about. And now let's go through it section by section. And I'll give you my thoughts on how the person wrote this, and give my own advice and everything else. And yeah. All right. So the first paragraph here. Hey, we broke weeaboo. Let's get your money right for your next convention. And then here's the start of the post. Once we get down to each section, like where it gets to hotel, I'm going to make a cut and make a separate clip. And yeah, it's going to look good. Okay, so they say, the 2018 convention season draws near. You're always broke from spending $500. I'm partially relatable to that. I can partially relate to that. On half-naked anime girl figurines. Not that part of it, but I have spent a lot of money on figures. You love to spend $300 on anime Blu-rays, but somehow you don't have enough money for a convention. This is assuming you get your figures out and Blu-rays and DVDs, whatever, outside the convention, like off of Amazon or other sources. Right Stuff with one F, RGHTSTUF.com, not a sponsor, .com, and then you don't have enough money when you somehow can get to a convention. Okay. Do you think your mommy and daddy are going to help you pay for your weeaboo dress-up festival? Okay, yeah, that's complete satire. Anyhow, of course they're not. You're a grown man or woman now. Just like your friend whom you borrow money from for cons, they're tired of funding your hobbies. Maybe you're not broke, but you suck at money management. Right here, I'm horrible at money management, but I'm getting better at it. You're the type of person to not have their priority together and splurge your cash on useless crap. Partially responsible. I feel partially responsible for that. Then it shows a picture of somebody with a completely otaku room, which is kind of cool, actually. As you see behind me, there's nothing on my walls and whatnot. That's because I just moved and I haven't set everything up yet. That's why you see a little bit of a mess around me, but in future videos you won't see that. And it says, bedroom of a man who disappoints their parents. Okay, well, that's an obvious typo, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool, mainly because of all the computers and stuff, because computers are my thing. But there's that. Alright? Then it says, because I'm a nice person, I'll teach you how to get your money right. I'll promise you that with my guide, you'll have more money, you'll have more than enough money saved up for your next convention adventures. It's my duty and ethical obligation to help my fellow nerds stack money for their passion. Okay, that's real talk a bit there. Not really real talk, but yeah. Alright, and then it shows this character. I don't know, maybe she's from the gambling anime, I forget what it's called. But that looks right, holding all that money. Your friend's praising you for saving and stacking your money up. Oh wait, you don't have friends, my bad. Oh wow, that's cold. Oh man. Okay. Now it says, my guide is not for you begging ass, broke ass nerds who always mooch off their friends. This is not for people who refuse to make money on their own. Okay, let me stop there for a minute. Time in and time out. Every year, here on Anime Boston Social, and anywhere else that you guys might see this. Anywhere, you guys will probably see this, have seen this everywhere. People are putting up GoFundMes and similar fundraisers asking, help me go to Anime Expo 2018. I wouldn't be surprised if the Anime Expo community is going to get one of those soon for next summer when AX or Anime Expo is going to happen. Donations are great, but don't ask people to fund your next convention because you can't afford it on your own. If you can't afford it, suck it up and don't go. I've faced it several times that I can only afford so many a year, and even that is slightly pushing it. I've been criticized for going to so many conventions by my family, by friends, by people I know online. But I need to get away. I work in retail, and it's really aggravating sometimes what customers put me through. My fellow retail workers here on the here in cyberspace, on the interwebs, on Anime Boston Social, Facebook, whatever, you can relate. And yes, I know it is expensive, and that's partially why I'm doing this video using this little guide here as a loose guide, lack of a better term. But yeah, I hate it when people do that, and sometimes they get donations, but then the donation starter, the person that starts a GoFundMe or what I don't know what some other fundraising sites are, but anything similar, they get so upset when they didn't get enough, and then the event is coming up. Don't do that. People that give you money out of the goodness of their hearts, do it because it's out of the goodness of their hearts, and then you need to come up with the rest of the money, or you can't go. And if you end up not being able to go, I would recommend refunding the money that you were given, because it's not right to keep money it's just not right to keep their money. Okay, then it continues and says, this guide is not for skeptics who believe saving money is impossible. It's not impossible. It might be difficult with whatever bills you might have if you're over 18 and you're in college, or if you're working like myself and you have bills to pay and everything. Yeah, and then it says, go away. You're wasting my time and yours, but mostly my time. Do you tend to blow a check or dip into savings for wants rather than needs and raining days? I think he means to say rainy days. Yeah, I unfortunately don't have a lot of savings right now. That's because I've got a lot of bills I gotta pay and other things. But yeah, good. Get the hell off this guide. People like you will never learn. My advice is only for those who are serious about saving and getting their money right. I only help people who are willing to better themselves. If you're still here, then that means you're serious about wanting to save for conventions. Let us begin. That's actually a really good introduction there. And so now on to the first topic, of which is the hotel topic. Okay, so this is the hotel section of the post, I guess, part 1 of the post, the real part 1. And so Yuki the Snowman goes on to say, obtaining a hotel room should be your utmost priority next to buying a badge/pass. And yeah, some events like New York Comic Con and others, other smaller, I mean, New York Comic Con isn't small, but other events call them tickets. Anime New York City, or Anime NYC, which is happening in a few weeks in New York, they call it tickets. But anyway, there are two categories for convention hotels. The main hotel or hotels, where most of the action takes place, and the secondary hotel or hotels for those who want a cheaper option and or to avoid crowds. Yeah, I'm going to touch upon that when I finish this first little mini paragraph. The main hotel's full price can range from $230 to $1,500 depending on the convention, location, hotel brand, days, etc. Secondary hotels can range from $180 to $2,000. Okay, so there is a lot of truth to that. What he's saying is hotels can give you a rate. Hotels and convention organizations can give you rates, can give the event rates to offer to their patrons, to their attendees, is a better word. And yeah, $230 a night can be the promotional price if you get a con rate or a convention rate. And sometimes you can't get convention rate because it sells out. And yeah, sometimes you have to pay like the $400 a night, and that can be expensive, especially if you don't have a lot of people with you. And possibly this is touched upon in this little paragraph, but in this little section, but in case it isn't, I just want to say, try to avoid packing like 6 to 9 to 10 to 15 people in your hotel room to keep down costs. Sure, that makes it so it's like between $50 and $75 a person for that weekend. But if you're rowdy, and there's a higher chance that you'll be rowdy in that room with that many more people than the normal fire code allowed, which is 4 to 6 usually. If you have to go over the limit in the room, I'm not condoning this, but if you have to, make 5 or 6, like 1 or 2 people over if you have over the allowed limit if you have to. Again, don't do it, but if you have to do it, just don't don't tell everybody, don't post about it publicly, and just do it if you have to. Because if you're caught and you make a big mess and everything, not only will your security deposit, your incidental stuff, your incidental payments, which I'll talk more about if it's not mentioned here, not only will you lose your $150 or $200 incidental insurance payment on the room, but they can also kick you all out because you basically broke the law by having more than the allowed people in the room. They wager the amount of people for the room by how many beds are available. So for example, if the room is rated at 4 people, that means it's a double bedroom with 2 people per bed, and that's 4 people. They discourage people from sleeping on the floor and the couches, etc., because that's literally going over the room limit. Okay, so then Yuki the Snowman continues and says, most convention hotels will accept room bookings about 8 months in advance before con starts. There you go. My friend asked me how early to do it, and as soon as possible when the hotel rate the con rate opens, try and book. But normally those sell out within the first 10 minutes if it's a popular event like Otakon or Anime Boston or Anime Expo or Anime Weekend Atlanta, etc. Most convention hotels okay, I just read that. Normally the convention social team will provide social media team will provide an update on when this will happen. Once they give the dates for room bookings, you want to start stacking up immediately. Like I just said, as soon as they announce that the hotel booking time is open, do it as soon as you can. Don't do it, if you have the money. And it usually doesn't cost you any money to book a hotel room. Some hotels, I don't remember which hotel companies do this, hotel chains do this, but some hotels make you pay at time of registration or at time of check-in or both. But others you can just book online or call Starwood or whatever hotels, Hilton, whatever, and say, hey, I'm attending X event on these XYZ dates. Okay, that'll be, by the time of checkout, you'll owe $750. Have a good weekend. Like that. But other times they make you pay either at check-in or at booking time, and you have to be ready for that. Okay. So he continues and says, let's say that you want to book with the Waverly Hotel, the host hotel of the Anime Weekend Atlanta, AWA. The hotel room registration for October 3rd, 2017, the time of this writing, and the convention starts on September 20th, 2018. The total cost of staying at the Waverly for 4 days is $700. This gives you about 50 weeks, or about almost 12 months to stack. I'm guessing he means to save up money. Ignoring assets and other forms of income, let's say you get paid bi-weekly. You're given 24 paychecks prior to saving if you're working on a regular 9 to 5. I do overnights many times at my job, but anyway. Okay, let's do some math. 700 divided by 24 equals $29.16. $29.16 divided by 2 biweekly paychecks equals $14.58. $14.58 is how much you need to take out of your paycheck pay period. Put the $14.58 in a savings account or any other accounts you have, any other accounts you do not have normal access to. If need be, consider opening a bank account separate from your main one. I do that. If you bank at Bank of America, open an account with Commerce Bank, and then deposit the hotel money in that bank. Interesting. Destroy any and all credit debit cards linked to the bank. You do not want to spend any money on that account. Repeat until you reach your target goal. That's a very good point, because I do have a couple bank accounts, two to be exact, and I put aside money for certain things, and I used to have a debit card for it, but I lost it or it expired, and I never renewed it. So any money I put in there, I have to manually transfer in or out. So that's a good point he makes there. Then he says, please note that many banks are different with their savings accounts. Some may require you to have a minimum amount of savings to keep the account open. Bank of America, on side note to that, well, but on perfect topic to that, Bank of America has a $12 a month maintenance fee on any account you open. So if your account is drained and you don't fill it before they have their little automatic maintenance fee cycle, you could be in the negative, like overdrawn. Now overdraft is where they charge you like a $37 or $38 fee or whatever because you're in the negative. As soon as you see your bank account, this is just basically a basic life lesson, like a basic money management, non-convention life lesson too. If you see that your bank account is in a negative, then take care of it as soon as possible. Because if it sits in the negative for too long, they're going to charge you those overdraft fees. And I've had it before where I fixed it and they still charge me the overdraft, and they don't always fix it for you when you call, and you just have to live with it and just be out of that much money when you get your next paycheck. And it's ridiculous and it's stupid, but take care of it as soon as possible. Borrow money from a family member or friend for that reason, and get that taken care of if you get into that situation. Okay. Anyway, he continues, or he or she. I'm not sure if it's he or she, but they continue. What if you're splitting a room with 4 people, you included in this 4? Well, that's simple. 700 divided by 4 is around $175 a person. Take your $175 and divide it by 24 checks. That's equal to $729 a check that you need to put aside. That's a very good point. If you're rooming more than on your own, then if you split it up, like I mentioned earlier, with the legal limit of people in a hotel room, then you're able to afford it much easier. They continue. Regardless if you're alone or with a group, keep taking the money out of your check and stack it up until it adds up to the total amount of what you need. Remember not to touch it until it's time to transfer your funds into your checking account or when you need to give the money to whomever the name is on the hotel's bill. Right. Yeah, always put money aside. And this probably is going to be touched upon in the party goods, or I'm going to mention some dealer's hall stuff too. Depending on how much you save will, of course, dictate how much money you have for everything besides hotel. Like for food, which is going to be mentioned later. Like for souvenirs and everything else, like DVDs, Blu-rays, figures, plushes, whatever. Keep saving money, even when you reach your hotel goal. If you have I'm covering the numbers here. If you have a credit card, like from a Citibank or something, right? If you have a credit card from like Citibank or Capital One or any other countless bank, wherever you are in the country or the world, use that, but just remember that you have to pay that off. And if you don't pay it off, you'll be in trouble. And you don't want to get into that trouble. And yeah. So they continue, and this will be the end of this section. With the hotel taken care of, it's time to tackle your badge situation. Now you should save up for a badge, or go all in and buy one ASAP. ASAP, that is dependent on you and your situation. And he says, note, AWA has yet to accept room bookings at the time of this writing. So if you happen to be wanting to go to Anime Weekend Atlanta for next year, it's not quite ready for a good rate. Yeah, you can probably book at the Waverly for full price, which whatever the full price may be per night, if those dates are available. But if you want to get a bargain, follow this guide that I'm reading and that what Yuki is actually recommending, and you'll be able to get a good rate and be locked in. All you have to do is show up and pay up when necessary. But this was the hotel section. And I hope I was able to cover what my friend Chad wanted to know about. He wanted to know how long in advance to get hotel rooms and how to find them cheaper. Yeah, book as soon as you can. And if you find that your hotel has the hotel rates up, book. But do it as soon as you possibly can. I can't emphasize this enough. If you really want to do business with a hotel that's actually part of the convention alliance, like, the actual convention hotel, like the main Hilton, or in this case, the Waverly Hotel, do it as soon as possible. And many times they open different room blocks, not just the first one. They do it in several waves sometimes, and do it as soon as you can, or try one of the secondary hotels, which aren't the heart of the action, but they're close enough and it's still cheaper than getting it at normal rates. So keeping that in mind, yeah, that's the advice that this post and I'm giving with little additions here and there on how to afford a hotel. So that's the end of this little section of the post. And next up is how to afford your badge or ticket, depending on the event and how they call it. Okay, and now on to the whole badge section. When I did the overview earlier in this video, you saw this fake badge. And it says 8th 2016, and I can't believe I'm reading this word. Nigga, you made it. Yeah. And it has the badge. It's supposed to be a badge for Anime Central 2016. And he's making it say you made it. And the badge number. My advice before I even read what Yuki says here is to, if you get your badge, let's say you, again, this might be touched upon in this post, but you can do what's called a pre-register. And you can pre-register for your badge up to a year in advance at the current year's convention, and get your badge in the mail 6 weeks before the event, and then you have it. You can just walk right on in. You can be all like, okay, here's my badge. Okay, let's go. Okay. But you can also buy it at door. But I recommend, and likely this post as I read it, I recommend that you pre-register for convenience and for financials as well, because it's cheaper to pre-register most of the time. Now, yes, so like I just mentioned, you can have it mailed to you depending on the convention. Otakon, as of recently, does it. Anime Central has been doing it. Maybe Anime Boston for people out of state. I'm not sure. I'm local to Boston, so I just go and pick it up. But right, if you can't pick it, if you can't get it mailed, or you choose not to get it mailed, the only other option, if you pre-register, is to go in on starting on Thursday of that week. You can go in from Thursday, typically from 3 or 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. of that day. You can go and pick up your badge at the registration booth, and that's the only thing that would be open on day 0 or the day before the event. And it is advisable that you go as soon as you can, or to avoid lines, or if you do it too early, there's a... Yeah, I mean, if you want to get there really early and be the first person to get your badge out of everyone else for bragging rights, sure, do it. But usually the pre-registration line and availability is open on Thursday from 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. And if you can't do it because you're coming in from out of state or out of country or something, get in line as early as you can on Friday morning so you don't miss a lot of your planned events if you're in line for like 6 hours. An extreme case, but there's some time taken out of any morning panel or morning concert or morning event that you want to attend. All right, that's my advice on badges. Let's see what Yuki says here. Besides, nigga, you made it. I don't like using that word, but I'm just reading exactly what it says there. Is it better to just go all in on a badge and pay for it now? Should you stack up for badge over time and pay one in the future? Let's go over each option and decide which is better for you. So he says all in. Let's say the badge is $45 at its cheapest, usually the first tier of pricing. If you can spend $45 and not be hurt by it, then go for it. Yes, you'll lose money, but you won't lose time waiting for your badge in line at door registration. Trust me, losing time is worse than losing money. Money we can gain back. Time we will never recover. He makes a good point there, and I just said that in my own words. You're investing, I almost said investigating. Okay, I clearly can't read right now. You're investing $45 in extra time. Extra time you can spend on panels, autograph lines, chilling with friends, etc. I just said that. To be quite honest, that's a win-win. Losing both time and money is a lose-lose. Yes. Okay. That's all in. And then he says saving. Oh, this is a short section. So you can't afford to invest in the badge quite so soon. That's okay. You can stack up to the desired tier pricing. Maybe you want to save up for the second tier that's coming up in 2 months, or perhaps you want to save. You want to wait and save for the final tier before online registration ends in 6 months. That's cool. I can work with you on either or. Yeah. To elaborate on what he's saying there, most conventions, when they have their pre-registration, he doesn't call this pre-registration, but this is exactly what I mentioned earlier. There's a pre-registration period. Usually it's up for like 6 months or so, and it usually goes up the month after the convention ends of that current year. For example, Anime Boston, well, not the month, but maybe 6 months after. Anime Boston is usually in March or April. And usually by September, you can pre-register for the next coming March's event. And, there's 3 different tiers. Like between September 1st and October 31st, it's $45 for the weekend. And then from November 1st until January 2nd, it's $55, etc. And do whatever you can afford, but that's usually how usually that works. Okay. He continues to say, or they continue to say, the second tier badge starts at $55. The price increase will start on December 3rd, 2017. Exactly what I just said. This gives you 4 paychecks until December 3rd. 4 paychecks divided by $55 equals $13.75. Then he gives the equation. 55 divided by 4 equals $13.75. Okay, and the last tip he gives here, and I mentioned a lot more, and I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, and do what you can. For the 6 months in option, October 3rd to March 3rd, 12 paychecks, divided by 75 equals $6.25 a check. Again, just like your hotel money, place this money in your savings and do not touch it until you hit your target goal. Yeah, so saving for a badge is like saving for your hotel. You want to have enough money for it. You don't want to have to borrow money for anything, which isn't the point of this guide anyway. So, right. This is what I recommend, and this is what the Yuki person, the Yuki Snowman is recommending. And the next up is actually tips on getting cheap travel. And that's coming up next. Alright, after a good night's sleep, I'm back for the rest of this guide, hopefully, or at least some more of it. The next part, as you can see here, oops, don't want to scroll that far up, sorry. Next part that you can see here is travel. And like I said in the overview, this is a very Pokemon-themed plane here, with Pikachu, Pichu, Mew, a random Pokeball here, probably Caesar, and I think it's a Marill here. It's hard to see in the picture. But yeah, I'm way out of touch with Pokemon, and yeah, that's not great. But anyway, so Yuki the Snowman continues here. He says, how will you get to the convention is up to you, and it will be different from person to person. Sadly, humans cannot teleport. Not yet. At least not without, like, recombining and having your leg coming out your face. So you must figure out a mode of transportation. Get rid of this notification. This section will be broken down into 4 sections: air, road, rail, and public transportation / road share. Ride share. Alright, so here we go. So since this is being posted primarily for the Anime Boston social Facebook group, it's, well, at least for me, since I'm a local, I have the air and rail kind of doesn't apply to me, but for anybody coming from out of state, even from New Hampshire, and nearby New Hampshire, or Maine, or, I don't know, upstate New York, these tips will apply to you. And let's see what is suggested here. And I'll as always, as I have throughout this video, give my input on my experiences and everything. So, by air or by plane. Admittedly, I have never traveled to a convention by air. From what others told me, it's best to book your flights as soon as your hotel and/or badge. Okay, yeah, that depends. Sometimes you can get a crazy awesome deal last minute, but that's a good idea. I would personally put aside around $100 to $200 a check for about 8 to 10 months, if you have 100% confidence that you're traveling by air. You might go a little over your target goal for the tickets, but it's better to have more cash than what you think you might need, what you think you need. Do not delay, as airline tickets will increase their price as your departure date draws near. Yes, but like I just said, sometimes, this is totally correct, totally accurate, sometimes you can find amazing deals on tickets. You can use websites like Kayak, like the boat, Kayak, kayak.com. There's cheaptickets.com, cheapo, same thing but with an O, cheapo, cheapotickets.com. What are some other ones? There's Priceline. There's all these services that can find you inexpensive travel. But yes, get your ticket as soon as possible. And as for putting aside the $100 to $200 a check for 8 to 10 months, that's pretty smart actually. But it depends how you're going. This is great advice if you're flying to whatever convention. If you're out of state, for example, for Anime Boston, if you're outside of Massachusetts, or if you live in New York and you just want to do it in style and fly instead of drive or otherwise. But that's besides the point. He says it's not wise to wait. Okay, that's the air section. And all right, let's see. Mute that for an hour. Okay. Now, if you're driving, car, This will, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a section. Rail. Rail means, for example, Amtrak. In general, you want to book your rail tickets, such as Amtrak, months in advance. I would say that you want to buy your train tickets around the same time you booked your hotel rooms and/or badge. Okay, it's similar to what he's suggesting for the airline ticket. Um, but yeah, the sooner the better. Why? Because you don't want to waste more money as time passes. Use the same method for booking and saving money for an airline flight as you would for plane tickets, as mentioned above. Yes, yeah, because you can get. I've traveled Amtrak a few times for several different trips, whether it's to a convention or just because it was easier to get places by train. And it was more fun too. You get to see the East Coast a little bit if you go down on the East Coast. You can get for example, I've only traveled Amtrak really to Baltimore and Washington, D.C., so you can get an Amtrak trip between Boston South Station. Again, Boston is my home city, so I'm using that as an example. You can use, you can go from Boston South Station to Baltimore's Mark Penn Station for around $65 or something each way if you do it early. If you wait, though, it can easily be $95 to $100 each way, and that's a significant chunk of change. And I would suggest, like what Yuki's the snowman is saying for the airline, put aside at least 100 to 200 a check if you can, even 50 if you can't do 100, towards Amtrak, and just in case you can't meet the deadline for the price, the good price, if you don't have it when you need to book it. But yeah, save as much money as you can towards your train or your plane. Now, the next part is by car. He says this will depend on how far you're traveling, your car's miles per gallon or MPG on the highway, I'm assuming, and how many people you have riding with you. A trip from St. Louis to Chicago will cost you around $60 to $90 of gas. From St. Louis to Atlanta will cost you $90 to $120. Yeah. Again, this is dependent on your car and the people riding driving with you. I would start saving up for gas money about 3 months before the convention. Okay, I haven't really driven much to conventions because I've normally flown or taken some sort of public style transit, which is being covered I'm going to be covering in this guide in a moment. Yeah, so that's pretty good. And he says, let's take St. Louis to Atlanta as an example. When traveling with my friend to Atlanta, he charges me around $40 for the trip. I put aside around $20 a paycheck a month prior to us heading to Atlanta. Okay, there you go. I actually did take a road trip with a friend, 2 road trips this year with friends of mine going to conventions. I went to Anime Central from Baltimore with a friend of mine, and then that was in May. And then in August, a friend of mine and I from Connecticut, from my childhood town in Connecticut, we drove from there to DC. And I offered gas money, but they were both pretty modest, and they said, nah, it's all right. But it's always good to have it available in case they need it or want it. And it's always a nice gesture to give money towards that. It shows your appreciation, and it makes it easier for everybody. All right? And then it says, I really hope I don't have to break down this simple math for you guys. It's really, yeah, it is. And, yeah, really is pretty simple. Now, for people that, for you guys, I'm almost going to show you the next section here, which is the food section, which will be the next clip. For those of you that live in the local city or local metro area of the convention in question that you would like to attend, public transit and ride share and share riding is a really good thing to know about. So he says, if you need to use public transit, taxi services, or a shared ride to get to a con, please research what bus, train, etc. you need to take for the convention. Bus and train fare will be dependent on the city you're in, and as well as share riding to a convention. In general, I'd say put aside at the $10 to $30 Okay, that doesn't make much sense. I guess you didn't proofread this too much. Sorry, I'm not criticizing. It just that caught me here. In general, I say put aside at least, I think you meant to say at least $10 to $30 for your choice of public transit and share a ride a month before the convention, if need be. Now, okay, let me touch upon this as far as my experience living in Boston for the past 8 years, almost 9 years. If you have what's called a Charlie card, in fact, I can show you what a Charlie card looks like. If you have a Charlie card, like this one, which is basically a prepaid Metro card, you can load a monthly, weekly, or daily pass. I would recommend against the daily pass because you would have to refill it every day, and that can be pretty expensive, like $20 a pop each day. Don't do that to yourself. If you have something like a Charlie card in your city, you can put money on it. You can put a monthly or weekly pass on it. For those of you coming out of state for Anime Boston and you live, out of state, I would recommend you get a weekly pass. Or if you live within Boston, you can also just put money on your card, put like $20, $30 on your Charlie card, and have it available for the weekend. Because each ride on the buses and trains, depending, pretty much wherever you are in the system, it's called the T, literally the T, MBTA-T, is about the same price. But if you need to keep connecting between buses and trains, there is a timeout period with whether or not it's a full fare again or a simple transfer. So pay attention to that. And so he continues, another option is, if I know I'm doing a $20 Uber to get to my convention hotel, I put aside $5 from each paycheck, $5 from each paycheck about 2 months prior. Okay, there you go. Unless you have a decent paycheck like some people would do, that doesn't necessarily apply, but that's a good idea. So $20 times 4 biweekly checks equals $5 I need to put aside. And he says, don't forget to tip your driver. Don't be a cheap ass. Right. I don't take Uber very often, so I'm not sure how the tipping process works with Uber. But normally it just comes directly out of your attached credit card or bank account, debit card, whatever. And it goes from there. Maybe you can specify how much of a tip you want to give as part of the full fare. I'm not sure how it works because I don't do Uber. I usually just take like I mentioned, the T, the buses and trains around Boston. So that's up to you, and I guess I can say your mileage may vary. Pun intended. It's driving. Get it? Okay, anyway. So yeah, those are my tips and suggestions about driving. And the RF, they're in the Facebook post that this is primarily going to go to. Well, I'm going to post this to YouTube, of course, first, and then link it to the Facebook post I made. There are some people asking certain tips that I may or may not cover in this guide. So I'm going to make a last part of this video addressing people's concerns and ideas on how to save money and budget money for different things. But until then, this is the conclusion to the travel portion that I'm giving my input on. And yeah, next up is how to budget for food. But let me get this clip ready, and then the food clip will be clipped in. See you guys in a moment. And now on to the food part. Goku looks like he's... first off, I'm not really much of a Dragon Ball fan, but I'm familiar with some of the characters in its franchise. It really never pulled me in. Goku looks like he's chowing down on some sort of turkey or chicken leg and some ramen, and his companion has like a pork bun or something. That looks actually pretty good. But yeah, the next portion here, the next section rather here, is budgeting on food and everything when you're at the con. Many times there are restaurants and sometimes food trucks and stuff around the convention center area, and you can get cheap eats like that. Or if you have to eat out at a normal priced restaurant, like around Anime Boston area, there's Chili Doc and Samurai Boston. right across the street from the convention center. There's also cheaper alternatives if you want to walk a little bit. There's also McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King if you want to go that cheap. But since for many, these convention trips are vacations, like little weekend vacations, I'd say live it up a little bit and find places you can afford. Like maybe $20 maximum a meal, and only do the big eat out meals on like Thursday and Sunday or something. That's just what I do. My group actually goes to Wagamama, which is a Japanese fast food style stuff, in the Prudential Mall, in the mall that's attached to the convention center. And it's a fun time. We have some random sukiyaki or something, and I don't even remember what they have right now. But it's wise to budget your food. Not necessarily ahead of time, which is probably what Yuki's going to say here, and I'm going to totally acknowledge that and recommend that. But just be mindful of how much money you have available, and you'll be fine. So he says, here's a food section, and he says, you got to eat and stay fueled up. Ever danced at a rave on an empty stomach? There's no longer a rave at Anime Boston as of 2013 due to some attendees sneaking other people in that didn't even pay for Anime Boston, and they overdosed. They were caught. They unfortunately perished, died due to that overdose. But they canceled the rave due to that, and I don't think it's going to be back anytime soon. Side note mentioned, but just reading that, when I read that rave comment there, question, I remembered that little bit of thing. Raves aren't my thing, so I honestly don't mind, but that's a different topic for a different video, whether or not I feel raves are good for anime conventions. But anyway, it's not fun. Fast, cheap food, or dine in at a high quality restaurant. Cook your own food if you have a kitchen suite. Again, this section depends on your budget and needs. If you're planning on eating out in fast food places, your budget should be around $40 to $100. Yep. Are you planning on eating out at non-fast food places? You want to save around $130 to $200. Okay, that's reasonable, I guess. Depending on the restaurant, each meal could be $20, $25 if you go really fancy, or you can be lucky and get like a $10 or $12 meal, depending on what kind of cuisine it is. If you're cooking your own food, I say around $60 to $200, depending on how many people you're feeding. Yeah, there you go. Before I forget, you should have about $20 to $40 aside for snacks budget. For a snacks budget, just in case you're walking around the convention center all day and you need to light fuel, such as cereal bars, fruits, etc. I was just going to think about that. There is a supermarket in that area called Shaw's Supermarket. You can go there and this is for Anime Boston, and very often there's supermarkets around other convention center areas too, or a mall or something like that. And you can go to like a CVS or something and get yourself some trail mix, get yourself some granola bars, like it's the cereal bars. Get some apples and oranges and anything that's long lasting and doesn't go bad too easily, and eat that while you're around. But of course, remember to not leave your trash around. Hold on to your trash and then shove it in the trash bin as you walk by one. But yeah, having snacks and little smaller meals with you, maybe a sandwich or something that you make yourself, or you go to Subway, which is, I guess, counting towards eating out. But if you can't really have a real meal while you're walking around the con on any given of the 3 days, have some little snack with you to keep you going until you can commit to a real meal. If I'm planning on eating out at fast food places, I plan my budget at about $60 for convention weekend. Okay, fast food is cheaper, not necessarily healthy, but hey, you're on vacation, have a little fun. Fast food meals are cheaper, like maybe $10 each time. If you get like a value meal at McDonald's for yourself, it's maybe $8. Yeah. Knowing this, I give myself a month before the convention to put aside $30 a paycheck until I hit 60. Okay, yeah, that's one way to do it. Now, as I figured out, Yukio Snowman actually lives in St. Louis. I'm almost certain of it. And he says, while I'm in Chicago for Anime Central, I love ASEN. I go every year as of 2012. It's going to be my 7th year this coming year. I'm excited. When I'm in Chicago for Anime Central, my friend, his crew, and I go to Hofbrauhaus for one night and dine in. Knowing that he preps for this dinner, I put aside around $40 2 months prior. 2 months gives me 4 bi-weekly paychecks. With this, I put aside $10 a paycheck until I hit 40 and keep that 40 in my savings until it's time to transfer my funds into my checking account. That applies to everything he's been saying this entire guide. I put the money aside to where you won't necessarily be touching it until you go all out during a convention like ASEN, Anime Central. ASEN is short for Anime Central, or Anime Boston, or Otakon, or New York Comic Con, etc. And yeah, those are just basic. I almost want to say common sense tips about food, that you don't want to spend all your money because you also want to have emergency money available. I've actually gone overboard sometimes in some of my years going to these things, and I've spent too much money on food, and I barely have enough to get home when I'm not in my home city of Boston, where I can just have money or get a ride from friends or something. Have money for the T, for the transit system, and yeah. But yeah, no, those are good tips. And yeah, that was a pretty short section on food. And the next section is on party goods. Let's see, how long is this one? Okay, this is getting pretty close to the end of the guide. But I guess I'll cut this here and combine everything else into one section. But yeah, sink your teeth into this section, and yeah, I'll be right back after I finish this clip and go on to the last part of this video. Alright, so now on to party goods. As he says in the first part of the paragraph there, it says this section is optional. I agree. And I won't necessarily read exactly what it says, because this is not really a key point for your convention experience, in my opinion, because I'm not into partying really. And like I mentioned in the overview, I remember this episode of Sailor Moon, but he used the dub screenshot, which is fine, I guess, but that's a pretty funny scene that this screenshot is from, and I'll even put the small video clip of what happens after she drinks this. It's hilarious. Anyway, so I'm just going to read through this, and I'm not even going to make much commentary on it, because I'm not really into that life of hotel room parties. But he says, this section is optional, and you don't need to party to have fun at cons. Yes, you don't need to get drunk extensively when you're at a con. If you're of age and you want to have a couple drinks in your hotel room to wind down, wind down is not the right word. If you want to ease your way into it on Thursday night, if you're coming from out of state or whatever, go for it. But if you feel you need to be crazy freaking drunk the entire weekend to have fun, then maybe this kind of event isn't for you. Maybe you should just go to a bar all weekend and not even worry about the convention festivities. I mean, that's just the reality of it. If you're going to be drunk, why be walking around the convention center and get yourself in trouble? Don't put yourself through that. So he says, but it's better that way. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like I said, all up to you. If you're like me, then you're about convention partying life. Therefore, this section is for you. In all honesty, this varies from person to person and their needs. If you're just going to one party, you may need just 1 or 2 bottles, a few mixers, and a case of beer, which will run you around $35 to $75. If you're hosting a room party, then you may need to spend around about $150 to $1,200. That's pretty high. Again, I have no knowledge about this because I've never hosted or really attended any room parties, but yeah. Feel free to check out my "So You Want to Host a Room Party" article for more information. Okay, I guess he has a whole article on how to do that. Okay. He said, and then he says, I usually wait until after I check into my hotel room and have everything ready before I buy my liquor. That's smart, so you don't have to like carry a million things up at a time and risk breaking things and whatnot, or whatever his reasoning might be. Again, this does not apply to me and possibly many others watching this video. You do have people who love to drop out of hotel room at the last minute. That extra money could help in a situation. It does suck though. Boy, does it suck. But you can make it not suck by stacking up 6 months prior to the convention if you're 100% sure you're hosting a room party. I'm projecting that my room party for Anime St. Louis 2018 will run me $600 in liquor, mixers, and other goods. Given my room party will be on that Saturday, May 5th, 2018, I might plan on saving my money aside for the party on December 5th. On December 5th. For 2 weeks up to May 5th, I will put aside $50 until I hit my target goal. Okay, that's like with anything that you'll be spending money on during this trip. All right, so and then he says math time. 600 times divided by 6 months is 100. Must you save each month? 100 divided by 2 bi-weekly checks is 50. Of course, your room party budget will be different from mine. This is just an example of breaking down the math and planning. And then up above where he says, where is it? I'm projecting that my room party for Anime St. Louis, and then he has an asterisk here. He says, disclaimer, I am not hosting a room party for ASTL, or Anime St. Louis 2018. Do not come up to me asking if I'm running a room party. That was just an example. I think I even touched upon this in the overview intro clip to this video. So yeah. All right. Now, based on his guide, and based on what I've been saying as well, for people coming out of state for any convention, whether it's Anime Boston or otherwise, he says, adding it all up. We have the numbers. Now let's add them all up. The total will be your target goal for savings. Below is an example based on my personal funds for major conventions, so your numbers will vary. Some will save more money than me. Others will save less. This is all dependent on the conventions you're going to, as well as funds and time. So he's estimating the hotel is $700. That's if you get a good rate. Badge is around $45 if you do it early enough. I personally just registered for Anime Boston for 2018, and I paid $65 because I missed the lower priced tier. But as I refer to my section of the video, if you forgot what I said there. Travel by road, it's $40 for his share and gas money. Public transit, $6. Food, $100. Party goods, around $120. If you're doing the whole party goods thing. Okay. Then he says his total is $971. I'm going to take that $971 and divide by 11 until Anime Weekend Atlanta. So he says 971 divided by 11 months equals 8827. He needs to put aside each month until the week before AWA for 11 months. By going bi-weekly paychecks, he says he can set aside $44.13 per paycheck. This does exclude any form of secondary sources of income. Applying my other sources of income to build up will make me reach my goal faster and earlier. This is giving or taking some items away, such as badge and alcohol. Okay. Then he's now are some tips on making more money during the convention. And I touched upon this in the overview. He says conventions aren't cheap. And for the record, I have no idea what character this is or who this is, but that's pretty funny. I'm rich! And she's like falling over. That's pretty funny. Okay. Conventions aren't cheap. That's not a secret. I know people are struggling to make ends meet as well as putting towards their hobbies. Oh yes. It's a cash drain. Believe me. I understand. However, you can always make extra money to add to your funds. I'll break down a few simple and easy ways to make extra money for you to use for the con. So he says, work extra hours at work or use paid time off, PTO. This is the simplest way to gain extra money. If you see that you're in an extra hours shift or shifts to be picked up at your job, If you see there are extra hours or shifts to be picked up at your job, jump on that chance. Does it suck they have to give up free time to make more money at the job? Yes. Is it awesome to have a little bit extra cash in your pockets for the convention? Yes. Go through some hardships now so you can have a better time later. Very good advice. If those hardships mean working more hours at a job you don't like, so you can go to a convention and escape from the workplace for a few days, or even work on your business at the con, then do it. Yeah. Another way that he doesn't mention here is that you can even go to the con and as a dealer, or work for a dealer, and make some money while you're at the con. And that's kind of counterintuitive a little bit because you're working while you're on vacation. But if that's the way you need to do it, do it. If your job allows it, you can use your paid time off or PTO hours that you stacked up and use those hours on your off day. Then, when you get paid, put the PTO money into savings. Right. The way my workplace works, how 7-Eleven does things, I work for 7-Eleven, they allow you to cash out portions of your PTO or all of it, and it's added as part of your weekly pay. So let's say my weekly pay is $300 a week, and my PTO is like $800. Then I get a paycheck for my $300, and then a separate paycheck of the same week with the $800 or $900, whatever it is for the PTO, depending on how many hours you have stacked up, as he says, and what your PTO pay rate is. So that's a good idea. Okay. Sell flip products online. Do you have old video games, comics, mangas, etc. laying around at your house that isn't of any use to you? Sell them on eBay to make extra dough. After you research and study the value of the items you want to sell, just create a listing for them on eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, etc., or even Etsy. I believe you can do that. If you Etsy is more for like stuff you make and you want to sell, but maybe you can put manga there too. I'm totally not sure. You can either sell your own product if you have your own business, or flip other people's products. I personally flipped items from loot crates to gain extra cash for funds. Okay, I mean, that's all up to you if you feel that's ethical or not. I'm not saying it isn't, but yeah, okay. Then we have this actor. Oh, I forgot this actor's name. But he says, sell drugs, invest in a drug dealer. Don't do that. Don't do it. You're not a dope boy investor in college anymore. If you are a dope boy, then all I have to say is be careful and watch out for the haters and fake friends. All through, you can sell drugs to partiers at conventions to make extra cash. Just a thought. Yeah, don't do it. He's joking, I'm sure. But, okay, then he says, invest in a legit business. Your homeboy is a real estate investor or owner and has a great track record of returns on investments. Invest with him. If you need more ideas to increase your income or have a new source of income to fund your weeaboo hobbies, I don't like that word, but anyway, I recommend the following, as they have helped me with increasing my income and manage my money. And then he gives these sources, rich, poor, oh, these are just books and everything that you can buy and whatever else, all right? And then here are his, let's see, this is the end of it? Yeah, okay, we finally reached the end, guys, yay. Final thoughts. Saving money for conventions shouldn't be so hard. Yet so many weeaboos struggle to do so. Sometimes people attend conventions without a budget or money at all. That's actually me when I go to Anime Boston. I just use a full paycheck and or my PTO and I'm good. But I don't think I'm using much of my PTO for Anime Boston because, again, I'm local and I don't need to spend too much money. Okay. Having a budget and money saved aside will help you out in the long run, as it's nice to have extra money. Not having money at a con isn't fun. Do I ever know it? There's so many things in the dealer's hall that I want that I can never afford or that I can get but then have no money left. Nobody will help you out. It's up to you to have the cash. It's up to you. I want you. I'm just kidding. With this how-to guide, I hope you can learn how to save and manage your money for future convention events. I believe everyone should have money saved up to maximize their fun at cons. Start saving now. Do not wait until there's less than a month before the convention to save. Apply what you've learned from this guide for the future. Besides, nobody will feel sorry for your broke ass. Get this money and save it. Thanks for reading, and in terms of my video, thanks for watching. Here's all the sources he used, and yeah, these are just ads at the bottom, but okay, this could be another video I might do. I'm not sure if that's relevant about what not to do at a convention, but yeah, this was the guide that I made a video, put into video form that Yuki the Snowman wrote. And here's the top of the page again. Hey, broke weeaboo, let's get your money right for your next convention. So thanks for watching, and before I actually even sign off in this clip, there were some suggestions from people that I'll quickly address now. And let's see here. Let me try and find the I'm looking off screen because I'm on my other display here. Here we go. All right. So in the Facebook group, I don't know if I should say her full name, but someone that goes by the name of Amanda wants to know about affordable cosplay. I'm not really much of an experienced cosplayer. I've actually only had 2 cosplays, of which I foolishly lost on a convention trip this year, but that's another story for another time. Maybe I'll do a video on my vlogs channel about how to be responsible when traveling to a convention or something. I don't know. But as far as that, I would say if you make it yourself, or if it's your first convention, go simple. Like, I don't even know a simple character's outfit. Like, I don't know, if you're Inuyasha or something, try, if you want to be Inuyasha or a character from that series or whatever, or Kagome, if you're a female, or if you want to crossplay, I don't know. Go as cheaply as possible. Go to a thrift store. Go to a secondhand shop. Go find all the things and put it together yourself. If you want the cosplay to be affordable, I would avoid going to companies and places, and even I would avoid Etsy if you want to keep it really cheap, and make it yourself. Get the fabric for the Kagome skirt, and then have the white top and the tie, if that her school uniform has ties, I'm not sure, and just make it yourself, and that will save you a lot of money. That's all I can think of off the top of my head for affordable cosplay. Okay, the next one is, I actually already covered, tips for going to conventions far away from home. Travel, luggage. Okay, luggage. In terms of packing, don't overpack. Maybe that's part of the reason why I had my misfortune over the summer when I lost my luggage. Don't overpack and have all this stuff on your shoulders and dragging behind you and everything, because that's more there's more of a tendency that you'll lose it or get it stolen or whatever. So only pack what you need. Travel light if you can, like have a large backpack or something and have like 3 or 4 days worth of clothes in there, or 2 days worth of clothes, and reuse it and wash it and whatever. If there's like a laundromat in your hotel or where you're staying. Let's see, lodging, the hotel stuff I covered, food I covered. Okay. Let's see. So that was from my friend Dan, and so someone else posting to the Facebook group, Anime Boston Facebook group, by the name of Luis. He says, ways to save money, how to budget correctly, what ways you can budget, best way to save money on hotels. Yeah, the best way to save money on hotels is to try and get the convention rate. Try to get the con rate, and otherwise get as many friends as you feel comfortable with, rooming with you, and you can split the cost like that. Again, I am not condoning packing like 10 to 12 people in a room that's not intended for it. So just do that at your own risk, but if that's the way you can save money, do it, but do it at your own risk. The best way is to make sure you stay well hydrated and eat on a budget. Okay, yeah, I didn't mention that in the food section. Very good point. Staying hydrated is important, because you don't want to be running around and then you're thirsty and then you collapse because you don't have enough hydration in you, if that makes sense. Eating on a budget, I went over already. How to spend cautiously. Yeah. When you're in the dealer's room or the fan art equivalent called Artist's Alley, where you can buy all the prints of different characters and whatnot, I don't have any of my artwork up on the wall or anything, so I can't really show you an example if you don't know what an example of fan art is. But don't you know, go into the dealer's hall, dealer's room, or artist alley and get like a gigantonormous figure of Goku doing a spirit bomb for like $400, and then you have no money left for anything else. Don't do that, because you'll be unhappy, and many times these attendees to these cons, for example, to Anime Boston, coming from across the country, and they may or may not be well endowed with money, and they can't say, hey, Mom, Dad, I spent all my money. Can I have another $1,200 for the rest of the weekend? Not everyone can do that. All right. Then Luis continues with his question or his suggestion. He's like, best ways to bargain, shop, food, cosplays, places to stay. I just covered that. Okay. All right. And the last suggestion I had here, an idea, was from somebody named James on the MA Boston social group. He says, setting up a budget for buying merch and how much we should buy, etc. How much you should buy is up to you. But setting up a budget is, like I've been saying throughout this entire series of videos and clips and whatnot, save up money for whatever you need to. For example, save up money for food and hotel and anything else mentioned in this video. If you want to get a big figure, like I exaggeratedly mentioned, that large Goku doing a spirit bomb, I'm sure that exists. Get it. But also mentioning that, if you can help it, try not to spend a lot of money on figures or manga or DVDs or Blu-rays at the con, because many times you can find it cheaper on anime retailer websites like rightstuff.com or Amazon, or what's another random site? There's even JList might have it cheaper. Not all the time, but they might. But if you want to save money, don't spend money on things in the dealer's room if you can help it. I understand the thrill of being there and having it in your hand to take home your luggage or under your arm when you go home with it, or to your hotel room with it. But if money isn't an issue for you, try not to be pulled in by stuff in the dealer's room. Find different tables and booths and whatever else, and they might have the same exact figure or item for cheaper than the previous person. I've learned that over the years. I found, for example, a Vocaloid Hatsune Miku 1/8 scale figure, which is not set up right now. I got her for $150. I found another booth with the same character for $120. So shop around, and that's what I can say about saving money. But anyway, this has been my video on Hey Broke Weeaboo, let's get your money right for your next convention. And this applies to any convention or any trip, really, that you go on and you need to save money for. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content on this channel, please like, comment, favorite, subscribe, and most of all, share this video around. I greatly appreciate it. It helps me out a lot in more ways than you know. And yeah, thanks for watching, and have a great time of day or night that you might be watching this during. Take care.